Welcome back, subscribers. I have not been this excited in a really long time. I'm just gonna walk you through this. If you're looking to try to find out like exactly what he's driving at, you could just go to our site, and I'm gonna do a video that is covering this entire thing, basically to kind of like spill the beans on how this works. Um, Again, I'm saying like we're protecting our material because we have an interest as far as our company goes in setting and creating this environment. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because I know, because of my experience in real estate, that whenever things start to open up and change, that there are all these like facets of the business that open up. And that's what really truly my interest is having other people that are like-minded, that are looking into this space, that have a communal environment where we can trade information privately that's outside of the public domain, because we don't there's no real room for distortions in business. We don't need it, especially moving forward when something is new. So I'm protecting that, absolutely. And if you're gonna bellyache about it, like, oh, just tell me what's going on, and be like, no, absolutely not. It's a you have to basically pay to play golf at the country club, flat out. You do not get to use the facilities, and the facilities are knowledge. And the knowledge that I learned is because of 30 plus years experience in the building industry, in the residential and commercial markets in general, buying, selling, renting, you name it, everything. So I know the language really, really well. And I got into crypto, and I wanted to know like exactly like, all right, I don't really guess that they're just gonna like convert it over to the US dollar. They're gonna be like transacting in these coins, because I started looking into what's called the tokenomics behind them, and realizing like, yeah, that shit doesn't work. There isn't enough of them to go around. Either they're going to be worth buku bucks, which is what the generalized they're not morons. They're just undereducated. There's no freaking way that they're going to be converting the US dollar into Hedera hash graph, or they're going to convert, oh, that's a real world asset token, they're just going to convert it. Like, no, they're not. They're not doing that. So when I started looking at it from the perspective, like, what is the practicality behind this? I've got like it's over here. What's the practicality behind this, and how's it going to run? And so as time went by, I'm sitting on the tokens just like everybody else is, and I'm like, that is not what this is designed for. If it's designed for speed, transparency, just transactional, it reduces transactional friction. So I was like, okay, great. Well, if nobody's freaking using it, then what in the hell is the point? Are they going to confiscate it from people? Are they going to incentivize it to get people to use it? How is it actually used in the system? So on and so on and so on. And I'm like, so there were all these questions. I know everybody's got them. They just can't really, put pen to paper and be like, well, how is this new financial system going to work? And I've talked about this. It's a mirror. I 100%. I'm going to lay it out 100%. The whole thing of what I've learned inside of our private site, and yeah, it's absolutely the most fantastic thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's not necessarily a following belief or something like that. I'm basically like, my background, like I've been like basically semi-retired since about 45. Meaning like I've had businesses. I'm still like relevant. I have businesses, but I've been in a very diminished role. Like I wouldn't say easy street. It's still, I still have to deal with like everyday BS and things like that. But as far as me like grinding on it, yeah, I haven't really had to be doing that since probably the past 6 years, I guess. Um, so anyway, I got to the point where I'm like, anybody that's a doer, a creator, somebody that is an entrepreneur, whenever I've seen this happen, because I've been around a lot of guys that are older, and whenever they get to that retirement age, they kind of like lose they want to keep doing things, but they know if they get in, they have to be all in, and then they're losing their energy or reason to like wake up every day, and then their bodies just start breaking down. It's garbage. But and they tell me, they're like, don't retire, don't do it, do something, have something planned so that you have something to kind of manage and keep an eye on in the future. I'm like, well, just get a dog. So yeah, so this morning, I'll just tell a story, like why I'm super stoked about this is like, Uh, we've everybody has seen this probably personally, like where your house value has just absolutely shot up through the roof. And I started putting together like months and months ago, like once I learned what I learned, I plugged in like, oh, the reason why they're doing this. Okay. And it's hurting the citizens absolutely for sure because it's increasing the taxation, right? And then the overall grand plan in the future is that it is a it creates essentially a feedback loop back to the people. Believe it or not, it isn't more of a it's set up where it's a that's the best way I can describe it. Like the corporations are going to have to give back to the system, to the rest, everyone else, and give back to the earth, give whatever. And this falls in line with ESG and all that crap. And I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely a real thing, but the people in the U.S. they're not going to go along with this. I knew that they're not going to go along with this crap. And so I'm like, how are they going to do it? Because it is absolutely 100% running behind the scenes right now in U.S. corporations. I show videos and proof of it on our site and where it's happening, and it's rampant. It's everywhere, but it's behind the scenes, so you don't even know about it. Perfect. They'll just charge you, and you won't really know. You won't really notice it. But what will happen is that it will. This new system is going to strengthen the dollar. Now, one thing that popped into my mind is I'll just kind of tell it chronologically, just so it kind of it makes a little bit of sense. Be like, you're just rambling, you're crazy. um, I have an existing property that is paid for. All right, and then I'm looking at it like, all right, I have another property that I'd like to go ahead and purchase, but I really don't want to go to a bank to try to get it. And I've been looking at the crypto aspect and be like, how could I use the crypto to be able to do it? Well, I figured out a way to do it. And that's part of what this is. So they're called real world assets, RWAs. And that's where, Reservoir Human and we have RWA, like we have an RWA domain. We knew that this is going to be like a really big thing moving forward, but I didn't realize of like how absolutely large it was. We're kind of like queuing in on it. And I was like, I think this is going to be a major element moving forward. And I want to be able to get into this and basically create a network of other people that are into the same thing. And you're going to see certain things. This is what I'm talking about in business. So um, there's going to be a convergence between the real market, real housing and commercial buildings and so on and so on, and then how it is applied to the digital market. And then that mechanism in business and how that works is what I needed to learn and how to find out how it all worked. Um, so anyway, I'm like, gosh, I've got all this money tied up in crypto. I can't really make any moves because I can't sell any because the markets are shit. And we're expecting it to be garbage probably until July, something like that. And I want to kind of get going. And I'm like, is there a way for me to set it up in this RWA system to be able to start leveraging things out? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, it's just going to take a little bit of extra uh, legal elements just to make sure that I'm set up correctly. But it's basically just filing paperwork. It's transferring specific ownerships and things like that over, and I get into that in the site. And so anyway, I get thinking about it because one of the properties that we had a pretty hard acceleration in taxation, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, I'm like, what's the normal person going to do? They're going to either sell, get another job, cut things off in their house and everything else. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to skin a cat. So it struck me, and I'm like, well, yeah, I've got plenty of damn money. Like you can inside this market, you can leverage 20%, 20 or 20x. I'm sorry, not percent, 20x, 20x. It's somewhere between 15 and 20x, depending upon like I kind of ran the numbers roughly this morning. It depends on how obviously fees and things like that, and closing costs and just like the administrative fees and stuff like that. But I mean, conservatively, it's like 15x of leverage, and that is absolutely insane. It's insane. So there's a there's a guy out there that is pretty well notable that I've been following him since Bitcoin before it took off. So it was around $300, something like that. And his name's Cliff High. And Cliff does predictive. He had a software program that it basically used, it's like a web crawler, but he had specific keywords in it that were popping up, and he set the algorithms. They're very similar to the way that it works in YouTube and Google and so on, where they basically like kind of tell you what you want to see. You know, like it like predictively knows what you're already thinking. So he did it in a little bit different way, where it was he was queuing into like strange words like aliens, alternative money, things like that. So anyway, he picked up on Bitcoin, and he wasn't sure, but he thought I understood basically what his software was doing and what his these reports that he was putting out, what they were doing, and I'm like, well, I can test this because I can chart it. And he's like, yeah, it's going to go from like 444 to 888, then it's going to go parabolic. This is back in like what 2016, 17. It sure as hell if it didn't do it, right? And I wasn't in it at that point because I didn't follow him early enough. So I was like, that was kind of like my first iteration into Cliff. And but he still has really good data that he's pulling. And one of the things he had said is that the housing market was going to it was going to retract by 50%. You know, that he's already prepared for this, but he's already going to buy a house. This is maybe like last year he did a video. And I kind of always had that like tucked in the back of my mind because a lot of his material, it's hit or miss, just like any other prognostication, but it seems about it's like a variance. It's not exactly the way that he says it. It's like there's, how do I put this? It's like, say one of his predictions is $600 silver. All right. And is there a way for it to be $600, but not actually be trading at $600? Is there a way for housing to be detracted by 50% on paper? I'm talking like on paper, like it's really worth $600, but on paper, it's being sold for XYZ. And I started looking at that same thing with the housing industry because I'm like, gosh, 50% on housing, that's a big number. 50% on, because the number is so big. You know, an ounce of silver right now is like, I don't think it's $100 today. It's 75, something like that. I'll look it up as we speak. But I started trying to like put together like how this could possibly be, because if like I'm tied up in real estate and I'm like, that's going to be kind of like a shitty investment. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's never been a bad investment. Like, what are they doing? They're doing something behind the scenes, and they're securing this environment to bolster the rest of the economy. And I was like, okay. So again, this is in my RWA stuff. And I thought 87, 83 right now. It's the 26th of February. Yeah, it looks like we're in like a little bit of a retest. So Cliff, yeah, we got to bounce. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chart. I'm not in silver. I'm not in it. I don't have any interest really in it. I'm just in other things. There's just so many opportunities right now in the market. It's absolutely crazy. So, at any rate, so I start looking to get at the RWA stuff, and I'm like, how is this going to play out? I'm like, absolutely. So there is a system in place currently right now that they've been tokenizing for the past 5 years, and it is, it will satisfy his data 100%, but on the regular everyday market, it's not going to satisfy the data. People are like, it doesn't make any sense. You're like, you have to understand the new digital market. You have to understand what they're doing and how they're interweaving the digital market with the existing markets and what's happening behind the scenes. So again, I've said this is created by businesses for businesses in order to keep the system running. If people think for 1 minute that it's going to go to Mad Max land, and you're using all these YouTubers that are all like Armageddoning it and saying like, you know, this is the end and all this other crap, it's fear-mongering shit, because they don't have any freaking clue on either. They just see the old system. They cannot see how it's woven into the new system. And it is, it's fantastic. Is it going to be rough? Yeah, there's a lot, and it all is going to boil down to compliance. A lot of these corporations, compliance and theft and fraud, okay? Because as these companies have to move into this new digital system, they have to come clean. And if you can't come clean, you go bye-bye. As simple as that. So is that going to have an impact on your 401k and XYZ and values of other assets? Absolutely. Absolutely it will. So But as far as stabilization goes, the rock is going to be gold, silver property. Simple. That's all it is. So it's like, all right, well, how do I divert into those asset classes? How do I make sure that that's the case? And I explain it. I explain it like I'm not a financial advisor, but I just basically show like, hey, this is what I found, and this is what you can do, and this is what they're doing behind the scenes. And there is a they're estimating now at by 2030 they're looking at $1 trillion worth of RWA tokenized assets. By 2036, excuse me, I think it was 10 trillion, something like that. I just looked it up today, just estimates. Again, you could take it or leave it, whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm super excited. I was basically feeling like, I think a lot of people are feeling this way, that, everything is kind of like stagnated and you kind of feel stuck and so on and so on. But it's set up, our reality is set up like no different than if you have to do something on, with Microsoft, or set a computer, you've got a problem with your computer or something like that. So the system is setting up for you to go do the research and you to ask the questions of Google, and then an AI or whatever else walks you through what you need to do, process. So if you don't understand the new language and you can't ask a proper question to the internet, it it can't tell you the answer. For example, I just had to reformat a hard drive on my desktop that I'm using right now last week, and I was shocked with how much better the prompts were in identifying what the problems were and what I needed to do. It expedited my time in setting up the software and getting my the operating system running and everything running right. And the prompts have gotten better. The searches are way better, and it was more of like a mental block because I've been through it so many times. You've gone through it. If you've gone through and had to reload an operating system, which is what the financial system is. It is the operating system of the planet. Okay, so they're resetting the operating system, and they're putting it on you to learn the language that they're not teaching you, but there's some of us that understand what what the language is. So once you learn those language rules, then you can go out and then you can start deciding if you want to go down this road and make your life better. Simple. Basically, take away uh, the friction in your life. But when you go into this new system, they already have rails in place that the more you put in, the more you have to give back, which I'm all for. I don't have any problem with that. This is not a on one side, it is kind of a greed system because they're not telling anybody how it works. There's no education on it. I talked to a guy at a graduate student from Duke at Digital Assets at Duke a couple of weeks ago, and he's only in his second year of the graduate program. I mean, they've just launched this. That's how fresh this is. This isn't going to be something rip your face off overnight. This is going to be, as you get interested in it, if you come across this video, it could be a year down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever else. And you see this video, save it and keep it inside of your archive, because it should be like a light bulb moment, like a seed gets planted and be like, I need to, I've heard some of these words. Where did I hear this before? And you're going to go back and be like, what is this guy? This guy knows something. And be like, you damn right I know something. And be like, well, why isn't he telling us? Because it's valuable to my company. That's why. Simple. So, I don't need the environment muddied up. All right. Like I need, when things start out new, I'm going to tell you my MO. I can forecast things a lot sooner than a lot of other people. I'm like a seer. Okay. I'm a doer, but I'm a seer, like a literal seer. Okay. I know when things are moving. I'm usually like 10 years ahead of the game. Like you got plenty of time. I have plenty of freaking time to get yourself set up. And I'll tell you this. Gen X is absolutely poised to being the wealthiest generation that has ever been on any the planet, bar none. Bar freaking none. They are set up so well. If your parents own property and they're getting ready to turn, you're going to be taking over that said property. And maybe you have brothers and sisters and so on. The system is setting itself up to be enabling that to continue on, and you guys create a business together. All right. And how to profit from that and how to set it up. And I'm like, this is fantastic. So you can create generational family wealth if you just learn the system. It's as simple as that. Like, I'm not selling the system. It's not my system. It's the system they've created in order to stabilize your dollar so things don't continue to keep getting out of hand. That's all it is. So as you see that they put things in the news that China's selling US bonds, all these countries are selling US bonds and so on and so on. Well, who's going to buy them? And the perception on the front end is like, well, the US is just going to go in the toilet, and it'd be like, don't, it's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. Because they've set up a system to enable it to be repaired. Basically, they're remodeling the existing system, and it should last. Oh my gosh, if we've lasted really about 100 years on the system that we're on now currently, and they kind of bled it out a little bit longer with the petrodollar. There's no end in sight, because this is worldwide. This is no borders from a digital perspective. This is bolstering the localized economy, and the sky's the limit, but it's based upon the citizens of that country. If the citizens of the country are entrepreneurial, which the United States is, ultimately the United States can own everything. Everything. I'm freaking floored. I haven't been this excited in so long, because again, I just kept feeling like I'm like hitting this wall. I'm like, gosh, I can't really wrap my head around this. I know how the system is running behind the scenes, but I'm just trying to figure out like how I'm going to do it for my company. Like what are the benefits? And people don't look. There's a certain point in time where you start making enough money and you're looking for debt. All right, and that's the hint I'm going to give you. You're dying to have debt, and that sounds crazy, because most small businesses, they're not looking for debt, and that is a big mistake, because you can create a tax strategy where you have debt on your balance sheet year end, and then your income stream is itty bitty, or it's not existent. And I know the accountants would be like, you have to make money every year. Be like, well, we did make money. We just invested it, which is debt. And if you're investing in real estate, then it's a tax strategy. Simple as that. And I talk about that also in our private site. So they have absolutely just set up this new fantastic system, and they've muddied the waters. The way that they've set this all up, they've got so much distractions out there. They've got the Epstein files. They've got aliens. They've got various wars and conflicts. Now we've got narcos. We've got. I mean, they've got so many burners going that the general citizen doesn't have any clue on taking in anything new, and they're betting on this. All right, because the people that are cream of the crop will absolutely find it every single freaking time. And I talk about this is histories of business and the world and how the world runs. This is what I talk about on the site. The history lessons and things that I talk about to basically explain, like, this is the same crap that they're doing all over again in order to revitalize and pump money back in the system to the doers. There is a ton of people that are in the United States right now that are sitting on generational wealth that don't do an effing thing. Nothing. They aren't creators. They're silver spoon brats. All right. And I know you know who these people are. And this new system it's turning the tables on them and saying, like, okay, you've been ass sitting and you don't know how anything works, and you're not a doer and you're not a creator. You need to give room to the creators, and then they take over. So this happens cyclically. It's like a rhyme. All right. And every about 3 generations, there's a new opportunity that pops up. And this is a really, 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 really big one. And then we're interested more on not just getting into the system and working the system, but how to, you'll be creating jobs. Like when I first, like this morning, I started thinking about this. I'm like, I'm going to have to hire, property managers. I'm going to have to hire people to repair the structures. So like workers to repair the structures. I'm going to have to, I need more insurance. I need more, all the business elements. I need more because I can scale. And so I'm providing jobs based upon me leveraging and using the system. So it's an incredibly healthy thing. And as long as, I do the things and follow the rules that we know that they're moving towards in the future, and I set myself up because it will just continue to grow like not it's bonkers. It's absolutely freaking bonkers. People are like, just get to it, and be like, I'm not talking about it. There's just no freaking way. There's way too much money on the table to just hand it out. And again, like if it's all free, it isn't worth a shit. I'm sorry. So I know it's gonna piss a lot of people off. How will this guy, whatever else, but this is a game changer for the United States, and this is great. This is absolutely fantastic. So there'll be a little bit more on this. Like I said, the way that I'm setting it up, you have to pay to be a fly on the wall. But if you're a contributor to this and you want to do a video with me, it's free. Be like, I'm not charging anything. All I'm interested in is other people that are like-minded in the same space that are going to look at the material that I've done and then have a conversation about it based upon what you know. So if you're a real estate agent, if you're into crypto, if you're you own property, you're a property manager, you have a background in international finance, you have a background in international law, maritime law, that's going to be very important. Regulations and compliance, you're a crypto accountant. There's all kinds of things, because when people decide to move into the space, they're going to have to find you. So those types of people that are out there, I'm just creating essentially like an internal privatized database that we can have long format conversations about, what your background is. And it's like, you're showcasing your business, because people are going to need things and they're not going to know who to call. This is so wide open. It's nuts. This is just like the land rush, the Oklahoma land rush in the 1880s. It is absolutely no different, and they're carving up the metaverse, and they've basically just launched it and put out to the world, like, we're not going to tell you we're doing it, but we're putting the rope out and we're putting the flags out and we're getting it all ready, and it's going to be this kind of like slow procession in land grab, but it's going to be in the digital metaverse space. All right. And that's the way that you need to think about this. And that is very exciting, because that made a lot of wealthy people. A lot of people went bust, but that turned people from zeros to heroes in the United States. Okay. And they're holding it back and they're not telling anybody about it. And be like, well, how the hell do you know? And be like, because I knew something was going on. Like I said, I'm a seer, and I'll just leave it at that. You'll see some of my other videos, because I talk about some kind of like weird stuff, that's intertwined to it. So you'll kind of figure out like probably how I came into this material. Said I was like this morning doing a meditation, and I'm like, that's brilliant. That's a fantastic setup. I'm like, I need to get going. So I've got probably, I was thinking this after I kind of like tamed down, because I'm actually like, I'm still really excited, but I'm like a lot more calmed down. I probably have, it'll happen this year, but I think probably in like 6 months will probably be the point where I move into this space. I just have some documentation and some paperwork and stuff I have to get square, and I have to talk to a couple of these crypto lawyers. And yeah, so I'm really excited. But I'm not like all in. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, is like I'm diversified in other stuff. So they're busy. So I'm still cautiously moving forward. But from what I'm seeing right now, I'm like, this is a freaking home run. And I'm like a home run kind of guy. Like, I don't like to piss around with anything unless I know it's like really lucrative and I don't have a lot of competition. I mean, like, why would you do that? Be like, I like to be competitive, but whenever I'm getting something started from scratch, I like to do it on my time, so I'm not rushed and I make mistakes. So you make mistakes, you need to be more stoic in business whenever you, especially whenever it's new things, so that you can keep your head on straight and stay grounded, because greed sets in and you have all kinds of problems. So whenever something is new, that's also a reason why I'm protecting things, is because I don't need things to just kind of like I said, like accelerate the timeline. Be like, I don't need to do that shit. Be like, well, I'm not doing that. So anyway, that's the way I roll. So if you want to know more, check out reservoirhuman.com. Just, click the link and you can find us on the web, and then, shoot us an email. You have to register to come in. I'm not letting people come in just for free and to kick the tires and shit. I'm like, you got to register to come in. And then once that happens, if you have information, just shoot Franklin or me an email, and we'll be back to you. And we'll set up a message, an email and or a correspondence, and we'll do a Zoom call. And you can black your face out. You can do whatever else. You don't have to show your identity, change your name, but review the material, and then you'll see that it's super exciting. I'm so excited. I'm stoked. All right, so I'm getting out of here. Every day, I'm doing all these videos, and I'm like, just to kind of build the site, to get interest and things like that, kind of get started to get this thing going. Because again, our initiative is the same. It's free for people that are thinkers, doers, and knowers. But if you're just trying to get an education, all right, this is like street education. They're not really teaching the nuances of this in academia. It's not there. I said Duke is only a year into it in the graduate program. And again, but you have to have an understanding of the original system and then the new system. So it's a lot to know for sure. And but people that have been in the system, I said Gen X, we already know how the old system works. So now you just have to kind of learn some new language, and it's like learning a new operational program, and then it'll all start to make sense. So, but they're not going to come out and the powers that be, like, why doesn't Trump come out and tell us? Because he's doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing. Their family wants to be able to, he's setting up a freaking bank, for Christ's sake. Like, look at it from that perspective. So the people that are setting the systems up are always the first to get into the system, and they don't want to tell anybody how the system runs. All right. And there's a reason for that, because they're in the know. They've put all the shit out. They're the ones that are the taking it on the chin, and people talking trash about them. But at the end of the day, they're the ones laughing at the bank, and they're the ones that are running and controlling and managing and creating a ton of jobs and keeping everybody working at the end of the day. Maybe not all the politicians, that very few politicians, but the new system will require those SOBs to have to start doing something, which is really great. Anyway, more to come. Cheers.